There is a powerful shift that happens the moment a girl stops trying to be everything for everyone and starts becoming everything for herself. When you focus on yourself, it's not arrogance, it's clarity, it's courage. I learned this early: your energy is your currency. And every time you spend it trying to please, impress, or wait for permission, you lose a part of your power. But the day you decide to invest that energy into your growth, your skills, your healing, and your dreams, everything changes. You stop chasing validation, you stop explaining your worth, you stop shrinking to fit places you've outgrown. Instead, you rise. When a girl focuses on herself, her mindset shifts. She understands that discipline is more powerful than motivation, that consistency beats talent, and that self-respect is louder than approval. She learns to say no without guilt and yes without fear. And here's the truth no one tells you: the world doesn't change first, you do. And then the world responds. People start respecting you differently. Opportunities find you, confidence becomes your signature. In 2026, let this be the year you choose yourself without apology. Work on your mind, protect your peace, build your strength. Because when a woman focuses on becoming her best self, she doesn't just change her life, she changes the game. Focus, rise, become unstoppable. When a girl focuses on herself, everything changes, not overnight, not magically, but powerfully and permanently. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she realizes that waiting for permission is a waste of time, that shrinking herself to make others comfortable only delays her destiny. The day she decides to focus inward, to build instead of beg, to grow instead of explain, that is the day her life takes a new direction. Focusing on yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. It is choosing progress over approval. It is understanding that your energy is limited, and where you invest, it decides the quality of your life. For years, girls are taught to adjust, to compromise, to be quieter, softer, easier to accept. But strength is not something you apologize for. Ambition is not something you hide. When you finally stop asking, do they like me? And start asking, do I like who I am becoming? You step into your power. When a girl focuses on herself, she becomes disciplined. She stops relying on motivation and starts relying on commitment. She shows up even when no one is clapping, even when results are slow, even when doubt is loud. She understands that confidence is built in silence, in the early mornings, in the hard decisions, in choosing growth over comfort. And slowly, something incredible happens. She no longer needs validation because she has self-respect. The world reacts differently to a woman who knows her worth. Not because she demands attention, but because she carries certainty. She doesn't chase people, she attracts alignment. She doesn't argue with opinions, she outgrows them. Her focus sharpens, her standards rise, and her tolerance for excuses disappears. She learns that peace is priceless and that not every battle deserves her energy. In 2026, focusing on yourself means protecting your mind in a noisy world. It means being intentional with your time, your habits, and your circle. It means investing in your skills, your health, and your dreams, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. Growth is not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be worth it. And here's the most important truth. When you change, everything around you has to change. Some people will cheer, some will question, some will disappear. Let them. You were never meant to stay the same version forever. You were meant to evolve. When a girl focuses on herself, she doesn't just upgrade her life, she redefines what's possible. She becomes proof that strength and grace can exist together, that ambition and kindness can walk side by side. She becomes unstoppable, not because she has no fear, but because fear no longer controls her. Choose yourself. Do the work, stay focused, because when you do, everything changes, and this time it changes for good. There is a quiet power that awakens when a girl decides to focus on herself. It doesn't announce itself loudly, it doesn't seek attention, but it transforms everything from the inside out. This shift happens when she realizes that her life is not meant to be lived on pause while she waits for approval, validation, or the right moment. The moment she chooses herself, she chooses growth, and growth changes the trajectory of her entire future. Focusing on yourself means reclaiming your time, your energy, and your voice. It means understanding that not everyone deserves access to you, and not every opinion deserves space in your mind. For too long, girls are taught to prioritize being liked over being respected, to adjust rather than assert, to stay silent instead of standing strong. But self-focus teaches a different lesson. Your worth is not determined by how much you give to others, but by how deeply you invest in yourself. When a girl focuses on herself, she learns discipline. She stops depending on motivation because motivation fades, but purpose does not. She commits to showing up on the days when progress feels invisible, when self-doubt tries to take control, when comfort feels tempting. She understands that consistency is the real confidence builder, and every small promise she keeps to herself becomes a brick in the foundation of her self-belief. As her focus sharpens, her standards rise. She no longer tolerates disrespect disguised as love or excuses disguised as effort. She stops chasing people who are unsure about her value and stops explaining dreams to people who are committed to misunderstanding them. Instead, she pours that energy into learning, healing, and becoming stronger, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The world responds differently to a woman who knows where she is going, not because she demands attention, but because she moves with intention. She becomes calm in chaos, firm in her boundaries, and selective with her time. She doesn't fear being alone because she has built a strong relationship with herself. And that self-trust becomes her greatest advantage. In 2026, focusing on yourself is an act of courage. It means protecting your peace in a world addicted to distraction. It means choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort. It means understanding that success is not about proving others wrong, but about proving yourself right. This kind of focus requires patience because real change is slow, but it is also unstoppable. Not everyone will understand your transformation. Some people will feel threatened, some will feel left behind, and some will try to remind you of the old version of you. But growth demands distance from what no longer aligns. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to outgrow rooms, relationships, and roles that no longer fit who you are becoming. When a girl focuses on herself, she doesn't wait for the world to change. She becomes the change. Her confidence is no longer loud, but unshakable. Her dreams are no longer fragile, but grounded in action. She becomes a reminder that when a woman chooses herself with discipline, clarity, and courage, everything around her has no choice but to rise with her. When a girl truly begins to focus on herself, a deep internal transformation starts to unfold, one that quietly reshapes her entire life. This shift does not come from anger or ego, but from awareness. It comes from realizing that she has been giving too much of herself to the wrong places, waiting for validation that never fully arrives, and postponing her own dreams for the comfort of others. The moment she decides to turn her focus inward, she reclaims her power. Focusing on yourself means choosing growth over guilt. It means understanding that you are not responsible for carrying everyone else's expectations on your shoulders. For years, girls are taught to be accommodating, to adjust, to make space for others, even when it costs them their peace. But self-focus teaches a new truth. Your dreams matter, your voice matters, and your time is valuable. When you stop explaining yourself and start improving yourself, life begins to respond differently. As a girl focuses on herself, her mindset becomes stronger. She realizes that motivation is temporary, but discipline creates results. She learns to show up on the days when no one is watching, when progress feels slow, and when self-doubt tries to take control. In those quiet moments of consistency, confidence is built. Not the loud kind that seeks attention, but the grounded kind that cannot be shaken. With focus comes clarity. She becomes more intentional about who she allows into her life and what she tolerates. She stops chasing approval, love, or acceptance because she understands that anything meant for her will not require her to beg. Her standards rise not out of arrogance but out of self-respect. She learns that peace is more valuable than proving a point and alignment is more important than attachment. In a world full of noise and distraction, focusing on yourself in 2026 is a bold act. It means protecting your mental health, setting boundaries, and choosing progress over popularity. It means investing in your skills, your health, and your purpose, even when it's uncomfortable. Growth demands sacrifice, but the reward is becoming someone you are proud of when no one else is watching. Not everyone will celebrate your evolution. Some people will try to remind you of the version of you they were comfortable with. Some will question your changes and others may drift away. Let them. Growth requires shedding old skins. You were never meant to stay the same. Every level of your life demands a new version of you, stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. When a girl focuses on herself, she stops waiting for permission and starts creating her own opportunities. She no longer fears being alone because she has built a powerful relationship with herself. Her confidence becomes quiet but undeniable. Her presence carries strength, her words carry intention, and her actions reflect discipline. In the end, focusing on yourself does not make you distant from the world. It makes you aligned with it. You become proof that when a woman chooses herself, commits to growth, and stays focused on her purpose, everything around her begins to change. Not because she demanded it, but because she earned it through consistency, courage, and self-belief. When a girl decides to focus on herself, the change begins quietly but carries the power to transform her entire life. It starts with a simple realization. She has been pouring her energy into places that do not nourish her growth. She has been waiting for approval, explaining her choices, and shrinking her dreams to fit into expectations that were never designed for her. The moment she turns inward and chooses herself, she begins to rewrite her story. Focusing on yourself is not about ignoring the world. It is about finally listening to your own voice. It is about understanding that your time is sacred and your energy is limited. For years, girls are encouraged to give more, tolerate more, and settle more. But self-focus teaches a different lesson. You do not need to lose yourself to be loved, and you do not need to sacrifice your dreams to be accepted. When you invest in your growth, everything else starts to align. As she focuses on herself, her mindset evolves. She stops relying on external motivation and starts building inner discipline. She shows up for herself even when it's uncomfortable, even when progress feels slow, even when no one notices. She understands that real confidence is built in private through consistency, effort, and self-trust. Every small promise she keeps to herself strengthens her belief in who she is becoming. With focus comes boundaries. She learns to say no without guilt and yes without fear. She becomes selective with her time, her relationships, and her commitments. She no longer chases attention or approval because she knows her worth does not depend on being chosen by others. Instead, she chooses herself again and again. Her standards rise not to push people away, but to protect her peace. In 2026, focusing on yourself means standing strong in a world that constantly demands your attention. It means choosing long-term growth over instant gratification. It means turning pain into purpose and setbacks into lessons. Growth is rarely comfortable, but it is always transformative. The woman you are becoming requires sacrifices the old version of you could not make. Not everyone will understand your evolution. Some people will feel threatened by your confidence. Others will miss the version of you that was easier to control. But growth is not meant to be explained to those committed to misunderstanding it. You are allowed to outgrow spaces, relationships, and roles that no longer align with your vision. Letting go is not failure. It is progress. When a girl focuses on herself, she becomes unstoppable, not because life becomes easy, but because she becomes stronger. She no longer waits for permission or validation. She creates opportunities, trusts her instincts, and moves with intention. Her confidence becomes quiet but powerful, her presence becomes magnetic, and her life begins to reflect the work she has done within. In choosing herself, she changes everything, not just her circumstances, but her mindset, her standards, and her future. And once that shift happens, there is no going back. When a girl finally decides to focus on herself, it is not a rejection of the world, but a powerful acceptance of who she is meant to become. This decision doesn't come from anger or ego, it comes from exhaustion, from constantly giving, adjusting, and waiting while her own dreams sit quietly in the background. The moment she realizes that her life deserves the same attention she gives to others, everything begins to shift. Focusing on yourself means choosing intention over impulse. It means understanding that growth requires solitude, patience, and discipline. For years, girls are conditioned to believe that being needed is the same as being valued. But when a woman focuses on herself, she learns that her worth is not measured by how much she sacrifices, but by how deeply she honors her potential. She stops asking for permission and starts taking responsibility for her future. As her focus strengthens, her mindset changes. She no longer waits to feel confident before taking action. She acts first, and confidence follows. She understands that fear will always exist, but it no longer gets to decide her direction. Every day she shows up for herself. Whether through learning, working, healing, or building, she becomes more grounded in who she is. Discipline becomes her power, and consistency becomes her identity. With self-focus comes clarity. She becomes aware of what drains her and what fuels her. She stops entertaining distractions disguised as opportunities and relationships disguised as comfort. Her standards rise naturally, not because she feels superior, but because she has learned the cost of settling. She no longer chases validation because she has built self-respect. She no longer explains her dreams because she is too busy working on them. In 2026, focusing on yourself is an act of rebellion. It means choosing depth in a world obsessed with noise. It means protecting your peace in an environment that thrives on chaos. It means being patient with your progress while remaining ruthless with your goals. Growth demands sacrifice, late nights, early mornings, difficult choices, but the reward is becoming a woman who trusts herself completely.